Yeah, I always felt pressure to be ultra feminine.
Yes, it's been 10 years, and we're going to keep trying. That was good, but let's do it just for one, two, one.
One, no.
One,
One,
two,
two, three.
Okay, here we are. It happened. Are we going? I'm going?
Yes,
You're
we
going?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going.
What episode number is this? 7?
Pretty sure this is 7.
Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Glued Together Podcast. 7. So we made it. So we took a week off. We had intentions, people. I feel like you should know, right? The people should know that we had intentions.
Good
ass intentions. They didn't actually happen. So the intention didn't come to fruition.
Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, let's blame it on that. Let's claim that. But what we can say is that Jenilee's back from her trip. We are back. It's happening. We are not falling off. But also just like practicing a little grace, right? Because it was the Monday night before you were supposed to leave. We were just like, this isn't happening. I set us all up too. Jenilee was putting Antler to bed, and I set us up, but we were just like, this is unrealistic.
Yeah. My part of it was like just definitely like nerves in my body that weren't going to show up well on the podcast.
But we're here now, and that's all that matters. We're really practicing this concept of imperfection, I think, actually, and just like sticking with things, even though they're not perfect, even though they didn't go as planned, right? Like, even we were like, we're going to record every Monday. Guess what day it is today?
Thursday.
Not Monday. So, but everyone, I'm sure, is really like, they want to know, how was your trip? What did you do? Did you masturbate? Right? I mean, that was right. So like, give us the 411.
Yeah.
The lowdown.
Yeah. So my trip actually was really nice. I definitely had to self-manage my anxiety and, just that part, right? Like my shadow self definitely came on the trip, and that was its own thing, but I feel like I was able to hold her while also choosing to have a good time. And I slept well. So I brought everything that I know and everything that I had access to that would help me sleep if I had trouble, right? Because my main agenda, I feel like, was like, you're going to come back more rested, or at least with a better understanding of what rest actually is. Because I think you forget that after you have a kid. You forget what like rest even feels like. And so I feel like I'm a little bit more up to speed with like, oh, this is rest.
Did you come back well rested?
So I came back jet lagged as fuck, but
So like, you didn't seem well rested, but you're right. Like,
no, so like, but the memory of what rest is
it
here,
came back to
right?
you.
Like
you were like,
yes,
oh my god,
like,
this is what sleeping is.
right. And I will say, like, so I really wanted to see the sunrise, and I did. I got up, and my friend that went with me was supposed to get up with me, and she did not. And I went and saw the sunrise.
Maybe once.
And every day after that, she set her alarm for like 5:15 because she wanted to see the sunrise. And every day I woke up and she did not. And I and so the last day I finally was like, you're going to the sunrise, let's go. And so we went out there, and it was cloudy. So
that's early. I
yes.
mean, like, no matter what coast you're on.
I mean, that was even like, that was like setting it earlier than you really needed to set it, because the sun didn't come up until 5:56.
Right. I would have set that
like
bitch to 5:42.
But I didn't have any control over her phone. I should have stole it from her and just turned off the alarm. But needless to say, like, I rested like a motherfucker. Like, I read, like, I started in a new book, like a thick book. I'm almost all the way through it. I relaxed, and so that, like, my body is, or my nervous system is, like, better in touch with that feeling now. And so now it's like gonna remind me really quickly if I'm not rested or if, like, I need to be. And so yeah, I definitely came home like super tired and jet lagged, and like I was a zombie for like the first 2 days when I got back, especially having to like go straight into like mom mode and having a son that's like super awake at like 6 and 7 in the morning. So I think so my highlight outside of the rest, I mean, the rest was like the blanket highlight, right? But we went to this farm to table farm.
I knew you were going to tell this story.
And we had the most incredible fresh meal. So food is like my love language, and fresh things and things that reflect love. And so my friend, I don't think that she would have went to this place without me. Like, I think she said like, oh, like, I thought you would really like this place. So I was like totally about it. And I wanted to like stay there all day. And it just was this incredible experience, like the incredible experience of like abundance, because there was just like abundance all around me on all the levels, not just money, right? Like the fresh fruit trees all around me in this like lush environment, and everything was really well cared for, and you could tell everything that they put out was super intentional. And right, and there were ducks.
She sent me a picture.
I had to send Aiden the video of the ducks. Any animal I see, I send Aiden a video.
I want to know.
So that, and in that same day, so this is like the best day. I think it was Friday, and of course it's like Venus's day is Friday, and I always like love Fridays for. So Venus, the planet of Venus, which is like self-love and romance and value, is like that planet rules Fridays. And
is there a planet that rules every day of the week?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep. And it is very interesting, and it's
what rules Mondays.
So Mondays, I'm pretty sure is either Saturn or
what about
Mercury.
Wednesday? Hump day. Everyone calls it hump day.
I'm not sure. So you could tell that I favor Venus and I love Venus
because
I know all about Venus's day. So next week I'll report on the full week of planetary days. But so Fridays I always kind of like honor in that way, that it's like Venus's day, and like you should honor yourself and celebrate yourself and feel good. And oh my God, it was the most Venus-y Venus day ever. So we went from this farm to table farm, having like the best meal of my life, to like going back to the hotel, me like laying in bed with my like chocolate and my book that I'm like obsessed with in the moment, and like my friend like just taking a full-on nap next to me. And then from there we get up, and she had made us reservations to go to this place called the Sandbar. If anybody ever goes to Cabo, you have to go to the Sandbar.
Cabo San Luca, for clarity.
Right.
Apparently there's 2 Cabos. I'm not very traveled.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I only knew because I was researching.
Right. Well, we went to both of them. We stayed on one of them.
Oh, so you ended.
But
wow,
so
you
I'm pretty sure the
the
Sandbar. I'm pretty sure this, because 30 minutes from each other. So I'm pretty sure the Sandbar is on the other one.
Oh, interesting.
Don't quote me, but look it
Interesting. Okay.
So the Sandbar is obviously a bar and restaurant on the beach.
Obviously, I didn't know. A sandbar is usually just a bar of sand. that you.
Right, but so like that's like somebody could guess that easily, right? Like, oh, is it a bar? Is it on, is it on the beach? Whatever. Yes, all those things are true. But it also has a top deck overlooking the water where you can like see the boats, and it's all massage tables, like lined up, like so that when you're on the massage table, she booked us 1 hour
You're still so excited
massages.
about it.
Oh my God, it was just the most incredible experience. Like I was just like, I literally had the thought, like, why the fuck don't we live in Cabo? Like, like this is amazing. Everybody needs to be doing this like on a weekly
Right.
basis. So pretty much I need to take a sip of my drink because this is.
Okay, I guess it was that intense.
So she booked us hour massages.
Clearly,
lay
you
on
can
the
tell
massage
Jenilee
table.
doesn't get hourly massages. So I feel like
No.
there are people out there who are like, girl, it's an hour massage, relax.
Yes, it's so basically I used to get massages before I had a child, because I had a really amazing like bartering trade with my energy work and this massage therapist, and it was great. And so I got regular massages at that point in my life, and since being a mom and since we've been working on our relationship with money, I have not had that hookup at this point, and so it had been a while since I had a massage. Anyways, even if it hadn't, you're laying on this massage table where you're like, you look up, you put your head up and you can see the ocean, you can see boats, the sun is going down, and like you put your head down into the whatever that is at the end of the table with the towel, and you can hear the water, the waves splashing, you can hear the boats, you could hear people on the boats. I heard somebody sing happy birthday from the boat, and it was like just this incredible experience. And the massage therapist was great. It was a great massage. And after, it was, it just felt like amazing, obviously. And then after, we got to go downstairs and have dinner and a drink. And so it was this like fully pleasurable Venus experience. And so that was my favorite day. We got to go to this incredible farm, and then I got to lay in a bed and eat chocolate and read a book, and then get this amazing massage and get a drink with my close friend. We got to walk on the beach while the sun was going down, and like saw the moon come out, saw the moon rise, and we got to put our legs in the water, and just like I got like totally soaked and it didn't matter. And yes, so that was my like favorite part of Cabo. Yeah, just being able to get away and not have a thought beyond like right now just felt really nice.
I've heard this story like 3 times already, and she's only been home for 4 days. That's why I'm having, I've heard this before. I knew you were going to talk about it. It's fine. I'm happy that you had such a good time. I would have also really enjoyed that too. So like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it was
I'm happy that
so
you had
nice.
that. And Antler at home was great. I had lots of support. Would not have been able to do it if we didn't like literally live with my mother. Like just
Yeah.
straight up would not have
Yeah.
happened.
Cheers to Mima,
Mima.
who's not allowed to listen to
Yes.
this podcast.
She doesn't listen. We told her not to listen. There's just some things, There's some things that you're like, hey, family, you should watch this. And then there's other things where you're like, you know what? Maybe you don't watch this one. Right?
Well, it's interesting. We've been put in this predicament, like our whole relationship, where like everything is
accessible
so
to everyone.
public. Everything is accessible.
Everyone.
Like I remember the morning that your mom texted you, like, "Why are you naked on
Yep.
Facebook?"
Yeah. The Adam
And
Levine
it was
photo.
because you did like the Adam
And I
Levine
said I wasn't
comparison
naked.
photo.
Jenilee was covering me. I wasn't. I wasn't.
with
Was
my
I naked
hands.
in real life? Yes.
And then and then the follow-up questions for many people, are those Jenilee's
Right.
hands?
Which I feel like now maybe there'd be a joke about it. But back then it
Yeah.
was like, yes, there's Janelee's hands. Take a chill pill. You know what I mean?
They better be
Ah.
hands.
So can we share, before we jump into questions, can we share a little bit about what happened the night of picking you up and like what we were talking about the other day, last night? Is that cool? Okay. So I'll
Yeah.
start and then you can fill in. Okay.
Okay.
So the night of, Jenilee comes in at 10:30 at night. She has to check bag and pick up, go through customs. It's in JFK for Claire. Like, just so for people who don't know, it's a solid hour drive from where we're at out on Long Island. And so she comes in at like 10:30, but I'm really probably not going to get her till 11 by the time she gets her bag and all these other things. So the plan is I'm going to pick her up. So I put Antler to bed at like 7:30. I'm like, my plan is that I'm going to take a nap. So I watched some TV. I've been rewatching The League for all my fantasy football fans out there. I don't know how many there are, but I was rewatching The League. And I watched like an episode or two. They're like a half-hour show, so maybe they're like 23 minutes on Hulu or whatever. So I watched 2 episodes, and then like, okay, I'm going to try to go to bed. So I try to fall asleep, take a nap, have my alarm go off at like 9:25. I wake up, I like go. I didn't actually fall asleep. I don't know. It's like one of those like you're not sleeping, but you're not sleeping vibes. I go downstairs. I'm like, oh, I have to go get Jenilee. My mom says, you look so tired. Long story short, my mom's boyfriend offers to go pick up Jenilee because he doesn't have work early in the morning. He's working later in the day. I have work in the morning. I had a long weekend with Antler. We spent we must have spent 10 hours between Saturday and Sunday out at parks, like legit. And so I was like, okay, great. But I was texting you. I texted you like 7 times in a row because I knew you were in the air. And I'm like, she's going to be mad at me. Like, end of day, she's going to be mad at me. But I feel like I need to not go pick her up and get home past midnight. Because then I'm going to have to wake up, you know what I mean, early. Like, I knew you were going to be jet lagged. I have to go to work. Like, I just knew I needed to go to bed. I had an option for someone to go pick her up. I needed to go to bed. But I just knew you would be mad. I was like, she's going to be kind of mad. So the next day, you were all jet lagged and not feeling that great. And I was like, she's mad. I texted my friend. I was like, Jenilee's mad because I did not pick her up from the airport. I knew I should have done it. This was a mistake. I could have avoided this. It was not worth the sleep. You know what I mean? And so then I I pretty much took like my lunch break early, and we went and got coffee, which I think was good. I felt like, I knew that I needed to reconnect with you. So I was like, let's go get some coffee. Let's spend an hour. Like, Antler, my mom will watch Antler. You know what I mean? And I felt like you weren't not mad at me, but I didn't feel like you were mad at me either. Like, I couldn't tell. You know those moments when with your partner, you're like, I don't know if they're mad at me or just tired, or if they're mad at me or they're just hungry, or they're actually mad at someone else, but I'm the closest person to them, so they're kind of also mad at me, you know? Mm-hmm. So then we had sex that night, or the next night, whenever the hell it was, the other night. Then you opened up and shared what I'd love you to share here.
Was it after or before?
It was after.
It was
after.
I thought it was before for some reason.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
It was after.
Okay.
It was after. Whatever. Regardless, it was definitely after, because we were like Jay and I sometimes do this thing where we just like take forever to like get it on. Right? We're just like talking about this. What else can we possibly talk about? You know what I mean? And it's just because like we're just like, what's that phrase? Chatty Cathy's. We just like we're just chit chatters.
Yeah, we're also like Cancer, the crabs.
So like we need a lot to get out of our shell.
They move
Yeah,
back
move
and
back and
forth,
forth, really
and,
like slow and
instead
shit.
of just like being
Right.
direct, they're
No,
just very
direct
like back and
is.
forth.
I mean, I have some directness in me, but not when it comes to
Yeah, well, that's the Aries
intimacy.
moon for sure.
But
yeah.
so share with them what you said to me.
I said that I thought a lot about it because I
You were
did
mad
like
at
my
me.
initial. It's like I knew, you know how you have like these patterns where you're like, oh, like when this type of thing happens, I respond this way,
Right.
and it's the way that makes you feel safe. It's the way that like it's worked in the past, and this is the way I handle it because it's worked in the past.
But has it worked in the past?
Right. Well, it's worked to an extent. It's worked.
It's been
you
your
know,
protection in the past.
Right. So, I figured out because I didn't express anger or like I didn't express that.
No,
I
it
was
was
mad at
passive
you.
aggressive. It was you
Like,
you thumbs up all my texts, and then you put "Okay, baby" as your response. So I was like, all right.
In my head, I said something that like I understand,
And
but maybe I didn't actually
no.
say it. I don't know.
It was not
But-
said.
Okay. It
It was
wasn't
not
said.
said.
So yeah, I think like initially it's like I felt disappointment, but I noticed because I wanted to see you.
Yeah, and honestly,
you know? Like,
I was,
of course
I was a
felt
little disappointed too.
I was excited to
Right,
see
right,
you,
right.
you know. So I was disappointed, but I noticed within myself that I was like, oh, interesting. You're like you're mad. Like, why are you mad? And like, why is, you know, like you, like, cause my higher self is like, oh, he's taking care of himself. He's getting rest. Like he didn't drive when he was exhausted. That's a great thing. I'm proud of him. Like I had this part of me that was like, oh yeah, like that's great. I'm so happy you took care of yourself. And then the other part that really has been my pattern to, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get mad because I'm afraid of what it means that you didn't pick me up, because you know I had been through so much before meeting Aydian, where I developed these protective mechanisms of like, oh, like I need to protect myself at all costs from being hurt, left, abandoned, betrayed, all of these
You
things.
not picking me up, plus us not getting to see each other when I get home, like me not putting in that effort equals I
Yeah.
don't love you anymore.
Or I don't want to, I wasn't as excited to see you, which can equate to
I don't love you
you're-
anymore.
You don't
Yeah.
love me. Yeah. Like it just the whole trickle down. If you really start to unlayer your feelings and your thoughts and your patterns and like everything that's like behind all of it, like at the core, it was like, I'm afraid of what this means. And so therefore I need to grasp for control and like act mad to then see how you respond to that. And so that's game playing.
Right.
You know, that's like, it's like, you know, instead of me just saying like I'm disappointed, but I'm happy you're taking care of yourself, like, you know, which is how I hope to respond in the future. I mean,
I don't think you
it's-
responded as aggressively as you would have in the past. That's for sure.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I think that
for
there
sure.
was definitely the fact that I
a
even
growth
yes,
moment.
the fact that I even felt it was growth on both parts, right? Because it was like growth
well,
for
you
me
taking care of yourself
for
is
like
growth,
taking
yeah.
care of myself, but I think there was also growth in me feeling like I had the space to take care of myself, like knowing
Right.
that you might get upset, but also being like.
I'm not
You're,
gonna like
yeah,
leave
you're
you
not
or
gonna be
something.
like we could get past whatever upsetness you like. If you're upset, we could talk about it, and me feeling safe enough to know that I could explain how I was feeling and be accepted by you. You know what I mean? Like, and that maybe
Yeah.
there might be a hump that I have to get over because she might be upset, but I know that I made the best choice for me, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And she will eventually understand that. You know what I mean? So I feel like it was this growth moment in
Yeah.
both of us, but it was this also these moments of, and I think like the reason, was there anything else you wanted to say to the story, or?
Yeah, just that the behind the scenes of it, like me not really saying much, or like, me not being super like lovey with you initially, like the first couple times I saw
Right.
you, the next day, it just was like me internally processing and dealing with like, okay,
Right.
so you have these big feelings, like let's like what is it, like what part of you is this that needs to feel safe? Because this feels gross. Like, I don't actually want to respond this way. I don't actually feel mad at him. I don't actually think that he should have, against his exhaustion, gotten in a car and attempted to come and get me.
Back. It's not short.
So like that's not what I wanted
Right.
either. So yeah, just like the behind the scenes work of me doing that processing. Cause like I remember like that morning, like when I was with Antler and it was super early and I was like jet lagged and like you were like trying to be sweet and I was like
Pushing me off.
oh, I was
Not
just
interested.
like, all I said was I'm having my own experience.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I said. And you just looked at me
Okay.
like, okay. Like,
Okay.
and like, that's all I could muster at that
Okay.
moment. Like, that's all I could come up with to say that like communicated to you that like, I am doing work in here and I can't talk right now.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, so the other thing is that Aiden picks up on more than most. Like his emotional intelligence is like up here, and like he just like senses.
Yeah.
Like you like even have like a slight thought about something, and he's like, "What do you mean?" Like, and you the words didn't even come out of your mouth, and he like is like there with it, and you're just like, "Fuck!" Like, can I have a thought?
Well,
like,
yeah.
So
Well, being
like part of it is that like he's just very in tune
being my
with
partner, I was very frustrating. Like, but when I work with people in my work, it's really helpful. And when I'm talking,
sure. And like it's helpful for us too.
And like when I'm talking,
it just, in moments, it's like, oh my god, this is too
when I
much.
meet people in public who've known me, and like, it has definitely been a really I guess like a superpower. But like when it comes to being into a partner relationship, someone I'm with all the time, and even my friends, like I could be a little much because I kind of poke. I kind of poke when you're like, can you just not like fucking poke me right now? And I have a hard time not.
Sometimes,
poking.
yeah. I mean, like for me, like when it initially comes up, I need space to like dismantle it, or like not even dismantle it, but like neutralize it so that it's not going to come out in a way.
Your first response is anger. That's kind of how you first respond. So I get it. We've worked really hard on that, and I want to get to questions, but like the whole point of me wanting to share this experience that we had is just that like Jenilee and I have been putting work in together actively. I mean, if I'm being real, so we've been together 14 years this January. So let's say we've been together, let's just say 13 years. Let's say the first 3 years, we probably weren't doing a lot of work. Your father died. We moved. Like, we had a lot of shit going on. So let's just say, trying to be really humble about it, like 10 years of real, like, intentional work.
Conscious
on
work.
Ourselves and in ourselves, bringing that to our relationship. Just trying to point out for everyone who's listening that, like, even after 10 years of constant intentional work, like that still wasn't a really smooth transition. It's not like I was like, I felt so safe with you to tell you I was tired and I couldn't come. And you were like, yes, I'm so happy you took your own space and you didn't, like, it was still kind of like sand.
It was still like prickly, still like uncomfortable.
That's how I was gonna describe it.
It just
was kind of like, like, oh, look at this beautiful rose, and you're like, oh fuck, she's just got fucking thorns all over it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so beautiful, but like, cut all those thorns off so we can like, or put it in the vase and don't touch it. You know what I mean? Like, so just that, like, the work takes time.
What felt really different to me is that we didn't have an actual fight over it.
Right.
There was no like actual argument. It was more just this energetic exchange of like, this is my truth, and like me feeling insecure about your truth. And then
it took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You took space. And
Yeah.
I will say that might not have happened if I didn't like have to go to work and you didn't have to take care of Antler and then
And
you
if
had
we
to go to
weren't
work.
parents, being parents, I mean, we talked about this when you and I talked about it
Right.
on Wednesday.
You just didn't have the time.
Just that, like, if it was just me and him still, that it probably would have just been different
Right.
altogether. With that, like, part of my anger, or honestly, because like underneath anger is grief. Part of my grief is not being just us
Right.
anymore, and having the spaciousness to. He, like if we didn't have a son, he might have taken a nap
Right.
before coming to get
Right.
me, or
Right.
who knows.
Yeah, I mean, it
but
wouldn't
like
have been a big deal. I
it
would have just slept in,
it
woke
just
up.
feels
Like,
like the world of parenthood just has a lot more tough love instances in it, where it's like, yeah, and this is what's real, and we have to do
Right.
this because of our child. And so it's like we spent so many years together before having Antler that we're still getting calibrated in our relationship as
right.
parents.
And if you don't have kids, it's just like a reminder of like time and space can be really good.
Oh yeah.
And so
absolutely.
I think that like the glue of that whole transaction. Well, first, the reason I wanted to share it again was just like it feels really important for me in this vodcast that people know that like whatever you see out there that you think is perfect, like it's just not perfect. Like whatever you're like, oh, like whatever relationship you see, whatever friendship you see, whatever vacation you see, like like it's just nothing is perfect, but there are glimpses of perfection that make it worth it. You know what I mean? And like being able to hold on to those glimpses and working towards having more and more and more, and getting and kind of like making the space between like the perfection and the glimpse like closer, so you have more glimpses more often. You know what I mean? And so I feel like the glue of what we experienced was like that consistency of being like, yes, it's been 10 years and we're gonna keep trying. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna keep trying and we're not gonna give up. And like like if it's time to give up, that's fine. You know what I mean? But like for us, we're just like, it's not time to give up. You know what I mean? So like, let's just keep going. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think for me, the glue was like preservation, like being able to preserve like myself and my feelings until I was ready to actually share them with you in a healthy way, instead of lashing out or, because like I said, like
Toast.
you read into my feelings and I read into yours, and like we had this like,
Yeah, I knew you needed coffee. I took her to get coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, I know
I
you.
had my first
You need
PSL
you need some coffee.
of the season. So yeah, I mean, I'm proud of us, and yeah, there is no perfection, and this is what it looks like. This is the growth, and I can see that, even though it felt really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into questions. Let's go into questions.
Okay, cool. So how did I do this last time?
You just have to.
I didn't have wine the last time. That's
Yeah,
what
but
it
you
is.
can
Here, hold this for me.
No.
Okay.
Keep your wine there. Okay, the wine can stay.
Okay.
You need to unplug the computer. It's just that you only have like 15%. Yeah. Now pull it towards you. Can you read it?
All right. Yeah.
You had the wine on the other side.
got it.
Okay, you
Yeah,
can read
I'm
it.
gonna make it
Okay,
bigger.
we're making it happen, people.
Okay, so.
Oh, there we go. Make it big because we're getting old. We're old. So you have to like.
Okay.
All
right. So from
Command
our first anonymous listener, it says, "Thanks for being committed to your podcast. I'm super grateful that you two are willing to open up about your lives so that people like me can relate to and learn from you both."
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm wondering if Aydian has any advice for trans men or trans people in general who may be struggling with their bodies in terms of what the patriarchy has told us about our bodies and what they should be. For me, I am a trans man about 8 months on testosterone, and I have struggled with the feeling of gaining weight or not being more muscular. I'm hoping you can speak to the process of meeting your body where you are at and honoring your body at all the phases of transitioning and in life.
So first off, I'll start with the medical side. So when you start testosterone, between the first 3 to 16 months, your body will retain water because your fat cells are being redistributed. Like your whole body, like just all the things are changing, right? Like, and it's like your face changes, like your hands change, your limbs, your feet change, your stomach changes, your hips change, everything changes. So a lot of trans masculine people who take testosterone will experience weight gain in the beginning of transition. So 8 months, I think, yeah, like you are really just starting. Like you might gain more weight as the time goes on. On the backside of that is that at some point around 1.5 to 2 years, your body will kind of settle, might be a good way of saying it. Like it will settle down a little bit and you will look in the mirror one day and be like, wow, like I look different, right? Like regardless of if you lose that water weight or not, like your body, like you'll just notice your face looks like more, just doesn't look like it once did. You know what I mean? Your hips, like
restructured.
Yeah,
almost.
it's like restructured, right? Like, and so you might be experiencing some of that, and that can definitely be triggering because here you are, like starting hormones in hopes that your body will look more masculine, or like more traditionally like male identified, and you're like gaining weight and you're like, wow, like my face looks rounder and my ass is bigger. You know what I mean? But eventually it does settle down. And then as far as just like how do you not give into the patriarchal way of like in which your body should look, and this goes for trans men and trans women because the patriarchy holds up standards for both, trans femme and trans masculine people. And I think honestly, I think it is a little bit of like a third thought, but like I do think that it also holds up this androgynous, like what androgyny is supposed to look like. Like androgyny is supposed to be like non-binary. Androgyny is supposed to be like in the middle, right? Like you're not a man, but you're not a woman. You're like in the middle. When a lot of times non-binariness and androgyny does not actually look like that.
Right.
It actually can sway one way or the other. So I think that patriarchy holds the standards for femme, mask, and non-binary. And none of them are really right. But I will say that like I definitely in the beginning of my transition felt like I needed to be very masculine and look very masculine. And I will say that I personally identify much more on the I don't even want to say the word traditional, but I don't really know a better word, but like traditionally male looking spectrum. Like if this, I always view the spectrum as a circle, to be honest. I haven't figured out how to describe it, but when I visualize what the spectrum of like gender expression is, it's actually a circle. But for the sake of me still learning how to describe that like verbally, if you have the spectrum, like I'm definitely more like on the guy, like just like the masculine side of that spectrum. But even though I identify that way, I still felt pressure from the patriarchy to be on that side. You know what I mean? Like to be even more masculine than like I kind of just naturally am. Like I think naturally I'm a very masculine person. I think that I have some, like I'm queer, I like to be like, hey girl, like, I like to play, you know what I mean? But to me, it's a very it's playful. If I'm just naturally in who I am, like it's just like very masculine. Like I do really fall in that side. But so like I understand like the pressures that's coming here, and so I think that like That's very normal, and it's very okay to feel that way. It's very, I think it's what every, I think of it like this, like, no matter what age you are, if you are a trans man and you are going through hormone replacement therapy, you still go through some of those feelings of puberty. And I think that if I had to assume, I would assume that every young man has a moment in their life where they feel like they need to be more male than they truly feel they identify as. And I feel like that might be what this person is going through. 8 months on T, regardless of the age, it's like you're at that moment where it's like you might feel like you need to show up more as a man. You know what I mean? And that like, oh, well, if I'm a man, then this is what I do. And if I'm, especially if you're trans, because you have all these fears of being outed and like you just want to fit in, like you just want to like go about life and not have anyone be like, you were born a woman. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so it sounds a little bit of like what this person might be going through. And I just want you to know it's very normal and it's very okay. And it's also okay to like, to find yourself swung on that pendulum a little too farther than how you truly feel you are. And it's okay to like swing back and land wherever you're at. Like, I feel like that's how, you know, like if we had the spectrum, you know, of like feminine and masculine, like I feel like I definitely in those first 3 years, like just really swung like too far to how I truly identified. And then I've come back. You know what I mean? Like over time, I've like slowly made my way back to being like, yeah, like how I am now feels like like the man I truly am. Like I'm still very traditionally masculine, but I have a lot of playfulness in me. I have a lot of like creativity. I have a lot of things that are deemed like feminine that I like and express. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
do you feel like that answered that question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, do you feel like that? Like I saw you like nodding along. Like, do you feel like I kind of went that extreme and came back a little bit?
Definitely. I definitely saw you, you know, and in that time period, I really think your ultimate goal was to be passing, especially because initially you were living a pretty stealthy life. And, you know, it's like we were living in a new area. You had a brand new job.
Yeah, it was in like, it was in Florida. So it was like the South.
Making friends that we weren't coming out to right away.
I wasn't coming out to anybody.
Yeah, we weren't coming out to anybody.
I had one person.
Yeah.
That knew I was trans.
And so it was like that decision to do the MTV special, It Gets Better, to then like we invited all of the friends that we had made that year.
We should tell that story at like a full time.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like just this seeing of how hard it was for you, and just even knowing of like, you know, being raised as a woman and having all of the patriarchal pressure of like being a woman and then deciding to transition.
You know what's interesting? I have a question for you.
Yeah.
As a woman and as like a cis woman, do you feel like some of the ways you knew what it was to be a woman was the opposite of what it was to be a man?
Did I know that?
Yeah, like let me re-ask the question. Like, do you feel like the patriarchy, do you feel like in order to be a woman, you were able to just look at what a man was and know that you had to be the exact opposite of that?
Yeah, I always felt pressure to be ultra feminine.
Right. So like if a man like took out the garbage, what did you think your role was in that?
I had to do the dishes.
And like, would you like, it's like if you took out the garbage, you were now acting manly.
Right. And
do you agree with that?
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's all
So it's like,
real.
in order to even
Yeah.
know what a woman was, you didn't even have to necessarily see other women. You just had to know what a man was doing and know that you can't do that.
Right.
Like if if men take out the garbage,
Right.
you better not touch a garbage.
Well, yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm asking you. Maybe you didn't feel this way. I'm just asking you in general. It was just a thought.
Well, I did, but like, like uncentering myself right now, just like feeling like like what I saw from you, getting together with you, knowing like even a year before we met, like you were still living as a woman, and knowing like you were raised to be a woman, to act like a woman, and had all of these patriarchal pressures on you as a woman, and then made the decision to come out and to transition, and then all of a sudden had to start thinking like, oh, how do I now I have to live up to these other pressures of the other side of the other spectrum. And I could just sense in my experience with you, and from what I'm understanding about, not even understanding, but imagining what it would have been like to have all that pressure all your life on one side, and then transition and feel like I have to like now get on board with like this other side of expectation. Like I just have so much like reverence for the trans experience in that sense, because because to this day, I mean, talk about the stereotype of doing dishes and taking out garbage, like, I've seen you jump to both sides, like when we're like at a family gathering, like you still take care of dishes, and like, and we never see any other man in the scenario do the dishes. Never. And Aydian is always the one that's like, no, let me take care of it. And I know that that's like the conditioning from before you transitioned. And then I see you like also wanting to take out the garbage, and like you've had to take on more than most as a trans person, I feel like, and like in that identity. And so I'm just like in awe and reverence of that experience myself, because it's just a lot to hold and to take on.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Invite me to your parties. I'll do your dishes.
Yes, and very well, I'll say.
I'm a good dishwasher. Just saying. I like them squeaky clean.
Yes. So our next anonymous question is, I'm wondering the ways that it has been helpful for you both to support each other in your relationship when one or both of you is struggling with your body image. More specifically, what do you think the glue, quote unquote, has been on days where you might have been struggling with your body image? This is a good one.
Go ahead, start. I feel like this feels hard.
Yeah.
It might be good, but it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you start.
I think being in tune, I know for me, like, your body image is something that you've expressed deeply, like is something that is present for you every day. Like it's something that is like extremely present. And when you were first transitioning, it was so much about like your body dysphoria in terms of like how you were presenting in your gender. But more recently, and like if you cut the years in half, like in the more recent years, it seems like it's more like this battling of like fat phobia, you know. And so for me, I have definitely very strongly battled fat phobia my whole life. And so as much as I've always identified in this body, gender wise, I definitely feel like there's a lot of like mirroring and reflecting that happens with the fat phobia part. And so, if he says something you know, that triggers me like into a thought about my body image. I've been trying to find new ways to say that, or like to say like, you know, like that's really hard to hear, or like, oh, like, you know, I honestly don't know what I say, because I feel like sometimes I don't say anything because I don't know what to say. Because it's, I know that it's something that's so present for him. And like, I'm not saying that it's not present for me, but I think that I have this belief about myself that I feel like I should be in some way like stronger in it or something. I don't really know. I think I'm processing out loud, but I think it's been helpful for us overall to name what's actually going on with our body image than to keep it inside, even though that's what I think I want to do with it. Like I feel shame for having the thoughts. Like I want to be so evolved,
right,
and so beyond.
Right, like you almost feel shame about even thinking about it.
I feel, yeah, I tend to feel shame about having a bad body image day, because I intellectually am so on board with like not
equating
living
your worth to your how much fat is on your body.
Right, not equating my worth to the fat that's on my body, right? And like I 100% like want to stand on a soapbox about like, you know, bodies are bodies, and
right,
you know, it's not, we should notice when our only agenda is to be thin, and check ourselves,
right.
Because that's not, I don't at my soul level believe that that's what it's about. And so I do get, you know, triggered by sometimes when it is definitely more verbally expressive, like just like outwardly, like his thoughts come out of his mouth more easily than my thoughts come out of my mouth.
More talkative.
And so sometimes he'll say something and I will feel triggered. And so, and again, Aiden will pick up on that even if I don't say something.
Yeah.
And so, and like he'll deal with it like, well, I'm doing this and like you can do whatever you want, or like, you know, like I think that we've come a long way in just like trying to remain individuals in our body image journeys, because they're not the same on any level.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
Being able to name when like your stuff is not helping me right now, so I need to take some space, or like you know, I think has been the most helpful. But this is another part that just, it's not perfect.
Yeah,
it's really not perfect.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we're not really having full answers because it's
not perfect.
Being worked on,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
it's just like there's an awareness that it's a thing, and it's not something that we want to be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want it to be a thing, but it is, you know. And like, I definitely, like Jenilee saying, like, I'm just very more verbal about it. I am very more. I mean, I'm like, you know, I had an eating disorder, so it's still something I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably, I mean, I'd like to think that it'll take less and less space up in my mind as I get further and further away from that really, like, painful and hurtful time of my life. But, like, it's still something I'm always thinking about. Like, it's just always something I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, it just really is. There's no way around it. Anytime I eat anything that is not like a chicken salad, not a chicken salad, because that's actually not good in my mind. A salad with chicken on it. I should be more clear. You know what I mean? So it's just always something that's coming up, and it's always something that I'm battling with, and I have in the past, like, really hurt Jenilee by expressing my own feelings, because why wouldn't you think that if I have a problem and have all of this internalized fat phobia, why wouldn't I be projecting it onto other people? But that's the thing with eating disorders is has nothing to do with the other person. You know what I mean? A lot. I mean, how many times have you heard me be that actress is so thin? I don't know. She looked better when she wasn't that thin. You know what I mean? Because it's not something that you put on other people. It's something you put on yourself. It's this unrealistic image of you and your body that you put on yourself, and you don't project it on other people. I don't know how to explain it. That's the best way I can explain it. Is I really don't. So this is gonna sound terrible, but it's I just don't fucking care what you look like. Not you, but you know what I mean? I just don't care. I'm just oh great, you look like that, you look great. It doesn't matter how much fat you have in your body. I'm you look great. I think that looks great. But when it comes to me and the way I view myself, it's such a different, and it's not okay. It's not a healthy. There's something off there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
But I have noticed that when I express things about myself to Jenilee, I can tell it affects her, which is what she was sharing. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, because as strong as I've become, in all of my own body image journey, which has been a lot of effort and a lot of strive and a lot of just reclaiming my body and reclaiming my beauty for what it is. And I the last time I weighed myself, or I didn't weigh myself, the last time I knew my weight was when I was pregnant, because that's a thing, you have to get weighed when you're pregnant. But before that, it had been years, because I stopped doing that. I stopped relying on numbers.
Right.
Started doing intuitive eating and just all that sort of stuff. Stopped dieting and all of that, and so I had come so far, and yeah, I think that our intimate partners are our closest mirror, right? So it's if you do have an insecurity, they're probably going to be the one to reflect it, and not intentionally. It's not that he's ever put me down or my body down, or made it seem like I needed to be different. It was just it's just more his own expression of his own self-talk and his own feelings about his body and what he feels like he needs to be and look a certain way. And so I think us emancipating ourselves as individuals within our body image has been the smartest thing we've done as a couple in order to stay mentally healthy.
You have to really continuously verbalize that emancipation.
Yes.
You have to continuously say I feel this way, and the way I feel, and I think that I should do this, and you know what I mean? Because the minute you just say oh well, but even when you're oh I don't want to eat that, you know what I mean? That can still be triggering for the other person. So it's more you have to explain more. You're not just I don't want to eat that cheesecake. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm not eating that cheesecake, right? You have to be more okay, well, what does that mean, right? It's okay, I don't want to eat that cheesecake because it's 9 o'clock, and if I eat that, I'm not going to sleep because of the sugar that's in there, right? Or just am I explaining this right? Just getting more nitty gritty on why you actually don't want it, or even just saying I don't want that eat that cheesecake because in my mind, something about eating cheesecake after 9 o'clock is not good for me, right? I feel that's I'm gonna regret that in the morning. Something is gonna be wrong with me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It takes work to make your feelings your feelings. And
it's not perfect. I don't even think that example I gave was really that great.
Not letting it be about
another
person, or not letting it come off it's about anybody but
Right.
yourself.
Right.
It is hard, I think.
Right. I try to say like I try to say I'll speak for myself. That's what I try to say.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like I say that. Like I said that even there, and I was like, well, I'll speak for myself. I feel like, you know what I mean? And it still doesn't mean it comes out perfect, but I feel like when you hear me say I'll speak for myself is you're seeing my attempt at being like, this isn't about you. This is about me. And I'm trying my hardest to explain to you what I'm feeling, and I'm going to speak for myself. And this has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Like, and like, it's, I feel like this is a great wrap up theme, right? Like the whole theme of, I think today's episode is just like, you're going to try really hard to be great and to be perfect. And we like love you and appreciate you for that. We think that is such something to be celebrated, something to be, just celebrated. Just like a hug, a high five, like, you know what I mean? A cheers, like whatever you're into, like we want to celebrate you for the attempts, because you're going to make so many attempts. And you are just like, we love you, but like, you're just not going to make a lot of the a lot of the attempts. You're going to attempt to jump and you're just not going to make it to the other side. And it's fine. Like that is totally okay. And it is totally normal. And you should keep trying, like keep making the attempts. Like don't give up because you have attempted this for the last 3 years and you still haven't gotten across. Like, because every time is a new attempt. You don't you don't jump across and make it to the other side and now you never have to jump again. It's just not how it works. You jump across, you make it to the other side in that moment, and then another thing comes up and you have to try to jump again and you might not make it. But another time will come and you'll jump again and you might make it that time. You know what I mean? And so like, I feel like that's kind of the theme of today's episode. Like if we think about the questions that kind of were pretty organic and our conversation earlier, it's like, it's just never, it's never ending and it's never perfect. And that's like, okay. It's not like a bad thing. It's very human. Like we're just humans.
Yeah, that's the word that was coming up for me too when you were talking. It's just like, like we're humans and this is what it looks like. And as long as like we're making attempts to own our own stuff, right? Because that's the other theme that like ran through the episode, like at least in my perspective, is like we're just trying to own our own stuff. And the result or the reward in that, in our experience, is that our relationship stays maintained and actually gets better and more intimate because we're able to not put our stuff on each other as much. We're still, again, it's not perfect. We're still doing it on some level. But it's like we're doing better and we're taking steps, and that's the glue.
Yes. That's the reward.
Yeah.
The reward is, there's a race every year. You know what I mean? You have to keep trying. You have to keep going. You know what I mean? So, all right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to be back.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question that I feel like I am wondering, and maybe others are, about your trip?
Of course.
Do you know what my question's going to be?
Is it, did I masturbate?
Yes. Oh my God, that's what it is.
I did not.
You didn't?
I had my period. Not to say that like I wouldn't do that on my period.
I know, but I feel like it's less chance on your period, right?
Yes.
Like there's a less chance on your period.
Absolutely.
To like masturbate.
And I was pretty close quarters with my friend, and
did
it's just,
she masturbate?
I mean, you'd have to ask her.
I bet you she did.
Girl slept.
Girl doesn't give a fuck.
She slept a lot.
I'm gonna text her. She'd be like, "I masturbate every night. I was asleep by 10:30."
It's true. I definitely went to bed earlier because we were on 2 different time zones.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like,
it's okay. I was just asking. I was just being super nosy.
Mm-hmm.
I am very nosy.
Did you?
It's true. Thank you for watching episode 7 of Glued Together Podcast. We'll catch you in the next one.
Yes. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Like, subscribe.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Comment.
All those things. Like, subscribe, comment.
Let us know your thoughts.
I know. I hate having to do that, but it's like, it's so important to the stupid algorithm.
Yes.
If you don't like it, if you don't comment.
Yeah. Engage.
YouTube is like.
Engage. Have conversation. Right. We want to hear from you. All the things.
Right.
We'll see you in episode 8. Bye.
I did masturbate, by the way. I'm sorry.
I figured you did.
Okay. It wasn't a lot.
Because I knew you had your man period a week before.
I did have my man period.
So you were ready.
I was ready. But I was also ready for you when you got back.
Oh, yeah, you were.
Okay, bye.
Bye.